Perfect. Thank you, Cassie. Okay, so back up a little bit. My name is Julia. Mckinna and I know each other because of working together up in labor and delivery for the last year. And I've been a nurse myself for the last 24 years, working up at the hospital. And I'm just blessed that Mckinna has stepped into this and started to realize how impactful gut health really is in our overall health. I was just saying, I think as medical professionals, when you find something that can touch and help so many people and really truly get into the root cause of their problems and not just bandage their issues with medication, it is like, to me, whenever I discovered how impactful gut health truly was, I felt like I had found the fountain of youth. And I just wanted to scream it to everybody because I saw the changes in the testimonies that this was having on people that I loved and I knew. And it just gave my heart as a medical professional so much joy to see that there were people that were turning their health completely around. So I'm going to go ahead and just introduce Cassie. Cassie is actually one of my sweet friends that introduced me to gut health and really poured into me when we first started this to help me realize how important this was. And so Cassie's testimony is just incredible. Truthfully, honestly, from a medical perspective, did I not know Cassie personally, I may not have believed her testimony, because as a medical professional, what she has gone through and the experience she has is something that we're basically told will probably never happen, that people just have to live with what they do, and surgery is basically the only way to fix it. And so her testimony literally shifted a huge part of my view among many others. But I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Cassie to share her testimony with you guys right now.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Cassie.
you. So I suffered with something called endometriosis, PCOS, and androgenesis. The best way to put it is there's a lot of female issues going on. That, like she said, every doctor I kept going to, I was having a surgery after surgery and lots of medications that they wanted to put me on. And I just didn't feel right after my second surgery. They wanted to do a hysterectomy. They said, you know what, Cassie, this is about the last we can do. You know, we really thought after every pregnancy that it would go away for you, but it's actually gotten worse, which it did. After every pregnancy, it got worse. And after every surgery, I felt like after every surgery, I was good for a few months. And I felt like, wow, this is what a normal person feels like. And so this was probably about like college year was when I didn't even know what I had. I had somebody in college actually tell me, Cassie, you need to go get checked out. This is not a normal period in a normal way that women should be feeling during that time. And I kind of shoot it off like, oh, it's just me. You know, it's just me. This is how my body is. And that was when she had made me go to the doctor. And I'm so grateful because I was curled up in a ball on the floor. Like it hurt so bad. And so went in, that's where I found out I had stage 4 after surgery. Because back then, that was the only way they could do it because ultrasound wasn't enough. They actually had to go internally to kind of see what was going on. And so I had my first surgery because I opted for that versus all kinds of medications they wanted to put me on, which wasn't going to be the cure-all either. They almost gave me more hope in the surgery, thinking that that would go away. And so I was like, I'd rather do surgery and think that this will be the fix-all versus medicating myself for the rest of my life. And so went through surgery, had our first daughter, then it all came back, had our second daughter, had another surgery. And that was when I started really diving into something's just not right. I had done several different opinions there in Wichita and was really trying to figure out what could I do differently, because no doctor, I just didn't, you know, when God gives you a gut feeling that something's just not right, that's how I was feeling. So I started researching and joining a lot of Facebook groups and things that were endometriosis people. And I noticed all these women were going to the endometriosis center in Atlanta. And I thought, okay, maybe this is the place that I need to go to. Maybe that's the place that'll fix me. Because they're supposed to be top surgeons, top medical professionals that understand the body of an endometriosis person. And I had my paperwork there. I had my appointment. It was ready. I even had a neuro appointment because I was so dizzy all the time, like pass out dizzy. And I started noticing in that group that women were coming out of these surgeries and asking questions like, hey, is anybody else still having pain after they're having their surgery with this doctor? And they'd be like, what about this doctor? And I think they were trying to figure out, maybe I'm not going to the right doctor there. because they noticed about 6 months after their surgery there that they were having the same issues again. And so this is kind of when I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do the endometriosis diet. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to eat cleaner, and I'm going to go to the gym. I do CrossFit, all the things. I did it all. I mean, I went no dairy, no wheat, no grains, like all of that. And that still did not get to the root of what was causing my pain. And so, long story short, I started diving into gut health. It wasn't something that I thought about. It was something that literally was placed in my hands because I was so stubborn. Because when you're thinking of it and you truly believe that nothing will help you, I really didn't think anything could help me. And so I did not believe that a probiotic would be something that would help my body. And so the person that came to me and told me about, these products, I kind of laughed in their face and like, hey, just no, FYI, no doctor can even help me. So why would you think a multivitamin, a probiotic would help me? And so she had to buy it for me and literally place it in my hands because I was that stubborn to start taking it. Um, and I'm grateful for my friend that did that because it took a few months for me to start noticing changes. I tell people it's about month 4 was when I was like, well, wait, I don't have a monthly, like I used to have monthly ruptured cysts every single month, like debilitating, take me to the ER kind of stuff. And then I would have to sleep with a heating pad and I would curl up in a ball. I was so constipated that that was not fun either. Like lots of things were happening that weren't happening anymore come month 4. And I was like, something's not right. And I was like, this is just weird. Because how is it that something I've dealt with since probably when I started having periods and everything that now is starting to go away? And then I realized, and this is 9 years ago now that I started these products, almost 9 years. And I've not had symptoms with no ruptured cysts, no any of that, because I finally got to the root of what I tell people is like the weed. I got to the weed that was causing my pain, that was causing my agony, my ailments that were from my body. Now, not everybody doesn't have to have a story like mine, but sure enough, these products got to the root of what was causing what was going on in my body and so many other people's bodies, that's what's helping so many people. And why you see different testimonies on the same products is because it's helping people in getting to what they need. And so that's why I love it. And that's why I shot it from the rooftop, because I told God and I made a deal with him. And I said, okay, I'm stubborn enough. If these products actually work, because I didn't want to do this for business. I was a graphic designer. I wanted to, I was going to be in a design firm the rest of my life and all these things. And I told him, I've felt a desire to stay at home more. And I don't know if that's of you or not, because that's not what I dreamed of. But if you're calling me to that and these products actually work, I will definitely share them. And so I started sharing them and it turned into a lifelong business that I cannot tell you has been the best blessing for me. And honestly, that's what God does. He gives us the blessings that sometimes we don't realize until he has to put them in our face. And so that is my story. And I am so grateful that I get to share it every single time because I hope that maybe one day I can help somebody in the same agony that I was in feel better and be able to get off the floor to play with their kids. Because that's all I wanted to do was to be able to have enough energy to play with my kids. And I am doing that today. So I'm so glad that you guys came. And I really pray that you just open your ears and your hearts to what these products could do for you and whatever you're looking for, because it could be this too.
Thank you, Cassie, so much. I'm telling you guys, her story just from a medical perspective, hearing something like that. I mean, I should ask Mckinna. Mckinna, how does that sit with you? Because as a medical professional, I felt like when I heard Cassie's story, I was like, if I didn't know you, I would really doubt that a probiotic regimen would actually do that for you.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah,
You don't
I agree.
what so many toxins and stuff in your body can do to
Yeah,
your body.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to share my testimony real quick here, and then I'm going to get into a little bit of the different products and what gut health looks like, because I feel like sometimes we don't always, and I know Cassie's got to go here in just a minute too, because she's got another event that she's helping with, but thank you so much, Cass. But I do appreciate you guys jumping on here tonight because I have become super incredibly passionate about gut health because I've seen it change so many lives. And so anytime I have the ability to get on and just share what gut health looks like in the event that it very well may be something that person has been praying for relief from, that's just such a blessing for me. So, my story is not near as dramatic as Cassie's. I was basically coming off of COVID-19, working in the hospital. I was working a lot of nights. I was exhausted. I was intaking a lot more energy drinks and stuff like that than I probably should have been, in the sense of just trying to keep on top of my energy. But in the meantime, while doing that, I was having a lot of stomach issues. I was having a lot of anxiety. I was nauseous after every time that I would eat. I wasn't sleeping great. One of my main problems was my heartburn was terrible. And I had been taking medication for heartburn for about 8 years at that point in time, but I was getting to the point where I was needing it twice a day instead of just once a day because it wasn't carrying me over. And so when I started seeing Cassie posting, I mean, I've known Cassie for years, but I did not realize that what she was taking was gut health stuff. I thought it was stuff for weight loss. And so I am very much a very strong advocate of healthy life choices as opposed to weight loss fads. And so it was not something that I even was open to listening to at the time when she initially talked to me about it. So when I did finally start to look was when she posted something about helping with energy. And so I talked to my husband and I was like, okay, if we're already taking energy drinks, I can tell the stuff that's in these energy drinks are not good for me because they are tearing up my stomach. Like I could feel that that was a big part of it. And I said, we might as well look into what Cassie takes and see, because it's all plant-based supplements. I know it's all, from the earth. So it's much better. It's cleaner. And so I contacted Cassie. I asked her if I could try some samples. And so what I did was I tried 3 days worth of samples with Cassie's products. And funny story, I actually contacted Cassie and then another friend of mine who's in another network marketing company that sells a different healthcare product, supplement product. And I was like, can I try both of yours? And I was very honest with him. I said, I'm trying 2 different products. I want you to be very aware here because I will probably choose to go with somebody like to purchase something, but I want to see the difference in both of them. I want to see how they work, how I feel on them, things like that. And so I was very honest with them. I tried Cassie's after coming off of 3 12-hour shifts and their night shifts. And so I was working till about 5 o'clock in the morning at the time, and sometimes 7, depending on the day. You know how that goes, Mckinna, up there. But I was working lots of nights. And so I was coming off of a 4-day stretch, I guess. And so I was exhausted. And most of the time on those days, I spend my day laying on the couch, trying to keep my kids preoccupied so that I can rest because you're so exhausted that first day and even into that second day. And so that first day I went ahead and I was like, well, this is going to be a great exam or like a great picture of what these products can do if I can actually tell a difference in the first day. And so the first day I took them, and honestly, I didn't really tell a huge difference, but I did feel like I had a little bit more energy. Like I wasn't laying on the couch near as much as I felt like I was. So I was like, I even told my husband, I was like, I don't know if this is a placebo effect or what, but I almost feel like I'm thinking better. And so I was like, well, we'll see, give it another day. Into day 2, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I can actually tell a difference. Like I was appropriately tired. I got up that morning after sleeping the night. I was tired by 9 o'clock, but I was literally able to get down on the floor and play with my kiddo when in the past, because of my fatigue, I was very irritable with my children. And I was like, very short with them. And I was able to get down on the floor and play with her. And we were homeschooling at the time, and I was able to help her with her schooling, which is not something that I did very often because it took too much out of me. And so into day 3, I had the conversation with my husband. I said, I'm going to try our other friend's supplements for a few days, see if I notice a difference. But if I'm doing this and if I'm feeling this good in 3 days, I'm really curious how it will feel if I try it for a month. And so we had that conversation. I spent the next week and I took my other friend's supplements, didn't notice hardly any changes. Like I didn't like the flavor of a lot of them. And I really didn't notice a huge shift in how I was feeling. So I decided to go ahead and talk to Cassie about purchasing a month's worth of product. And so in that month, I went to a training because as a nurse, I was very curious on the science behind it. And so I really started to dig into what gut health was and what was in these products to actually do what they're doing for people. Because in medicine, you don't hear of people coming off of thyroid medicine Like you don't hear of people coming off of like bowel issues like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. I literally was hearing testimonies of people who have had Crohn's, had most of their bowel out, and have an ostomy, who are completely off of medication because of these supplements. And I was dumbfounded because my brain was like, why are these so amazing? Like, what is in these supplements? Because this is like the fountain of youth here for people, and people don't even know it. And so I started really digging in. So within 2 months of taking these supplements on a regular basis, I was completely off of my heartburn medicine. My anxiety was completely shifted. I have not struggled with it. I probably struggle with it rarely, nothing ever to have to medicate. I sleep beautifully. One of the things that y'all probably would be surprised of, I'm in menopause, and I have been for the last year and a half. I was perimenopause since I was 36. And I was having terrible hot flashes and night sweats and dryness and like all these terrible things that I'm sure most of us like will eventually get to or have already gone through or are in the process of. And the thing is, like within a year of starting to address my gut health and take the supplements that I do, I have none of those symptoms. So, needless to say, in the last year and a half, I have walked alongside of hundreds of people and helped them shift their health and come off of medications when they were told by the medical industry, and nothing against the medical industry. I mean, that's my own industry. They're just not educated in health and nutrition anymore. They're educated in medication. And so you can ask any doctor, they'll tell you we don't really get a lot of education on that. And that's just because of how pharmaceuticals have kind of taken over medical school. And so they don't have all that information, so they can't suggest those things to you. That is so imperative because nutrition is what your body is meant for, right? Your body thrives on nutrition. So gut health in itself, it affects 70% of your immune system. It's 90% of your serotonin levels in your body. Your gut system specifically is responsible for the majority of balancing your hormones, your insulin levels, your cortisol levels, all of your serotonin level, well, 90% of your serotonin levels. It is responsible for a multitude of different things in your body that we just haven't even tapped into yet as a medical industry. But there are studies coming out day by day that goes over how imperative addressing your gut health is to your overall health, even longevity. There's even studies coming out. Somebody sent me a study on it just, I think a couple of weeks ago about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's attached to gut health, which doesn't surprise me because in your gut, what happens is if you think of the food that we eat, if you think of the environment we live in, there's tons of chemicals and stuff in our air, there's chemicals in our food. So we're ingesting that constantly. How often do we detox that and get that stuff out? Right? We don't do it very often. So if we're not constantly kind of cleansing, that's why Cassie was talking about like a weed in her system. So we kind of refer to the gut as like a garden. So if you're going to get better, you have to weed out the bad stuff. You have to feed it with the good stuff. And then you have to feed the good stuff to let it grow. So it's very similar to a garden. So one of our foundational products that we have is called the Triplex. It is a combination of 3 different products. And the Triplex is the foundational product that we have that we call our gut health regimen. This product, it weeds your gut system by helping pull out toxins and inflammation from your system. And then the probiotic is very different than I was on a probiotic for years and I was still having issues with anxiety and still having issues with heartburn, still having bowel issues. I was so bloated. I didn't even realize I was bloated when I first started this, but I was still having all those issues and I was on a really good probiotic. So it was amazing to me. But when I dug into it, there is a product in our Probio 5 that's called chitinase. It's an enzyme. And what it does is it helps to get into your cells and it breaks apart what's called candida yeast. So just a real quick little venture here that goes into my science brain, but I thought was really cool. You might like it too, Mckinna. Chitinase helps to dig up candida yeast. Candida yeast is something that it occurs naturally in our bodies, but it's not supposed to occur until after we die. It's what builds up in our system and takes over to help break down our bodies after we die. So if you think about how a lot of people have a buildup of candida in their body, there's no surprise that we have a lot of disease, because you literally have that in your cells that's starting to tear down the rest of your cells and the organs that it's attached to and break down as you build up more candida. And what feeds candida and yeast? Does anybody know that? What feeds it? Sugar. Sugar, carbohydrates that turn into sugar, all those things break down and they feed yeast. So if you think about like all of the different foods that we eat, sugar is mostly added into a lot of our foods anymore. And so if we're not being diligent about addressing our gut health and really trying to clean it out as we're eating and putting good things back in, we will continually be trying to play catch up with our disease, because it's going to get out of hand because you're putting stuff in and not getting it cleared out. So that is our triplex. That's the one that I really like to hit on. There is one that we have that kind of goes, we have a lot of different supplements. And honestly, this is one of those things where if you have specific issues or different struggles, I would say, let's talk privately, and Mckinna can connect us into a 3-way message. We can chat privately about what your specific issues are, because yes, the foundational product is the triplex. And that's what I suggest every single person start on if they're wanting overall health. But if you have different things like diabetes, or you have thyroid issues, or you are in menopause, there may be 1 or 2 other supplements that may be really beneficial for you to also look at starting. If you may have rheumatoid arthritis or something like that, that's a buildup of inflammation in your system, we have another product that helps address that too. All of our extra products, though, build on our triplex. The triplex is where I tell everybody to start. The beautiful thing right now, and I will start to kind of wrap this up a little bit, and then we'll kind of maybe ask a couple questions at the end. The beautiful thing right now is the company has been they're an incredibly generous company. Oh, real quick. So God has just really moved in my heart. I have always been somebody who's very more naturally minded. My husband had cancer as a child. So when we got married, that was something that was always in my head for my kids. So we've always been very health focused. So I always thought I was a pretty healthy person up until I started taking these products and realizing how much worse I felt before them. But when I started to see how much these products help people and change their lives, I really started to pray about how I could use it to help people on a long-term basis. And so I was able to actually step away from my nursing job back in October to do this as a full-time basis to provide for my family. We are able, like, the company is super, super generous, but it has been something that has just been an amazing opportunity. The community that we have is an incredibly godly community that basically just has the heart to be the hands and feet of Jesus to our communities around us, and specifically through health, because I firmly believe that our body is the temple. And if we are Christians, the Holy Spirit lives inside of us, and we're supposed to treat it well and take care of it. And so that is something that really always has been a driving force for me. But it's been an incredible pleasure to be able to walk alongside so many people who have lost hope and just feel like they have to tolerate how they feel for the rest of their lives. And so if you guys have specific stuff, that's awesome. I love that, Mckinna. I am so glad we all love Jesus. This was meant to be. That's just all I have to say. But if you guys have specific questions, I'm happy to answer some of those questions here in just a second. The one thing I wanted to mention is Mckinna we're going to do a reset and walk challenge starting next week. If that is something that you need accountability and just a community for, we're going to host Mckinna's own little group with her own people. And so it's going to be me and her and whoever decides that they want to go ahead and jump into that challenge and do it with us. The company has a really cool deal going on right now where if you buy that triplex or one of the combos, whatever fits your goals specifically, you get the detox box that we have. It's called the Reset. It's completely free and it's a $90 value. So it is a really big deal. They're flying off the shelves right now like hotcakes. So that is definitely something that could be a huge blessing. It is also a really powerful tool to start your health journey because it is a massive detoxifier in the best way. It doesn't mean that you're going to be pooping for 3 days straight. It's not like you're going to be having these massive detox issues, but what it is, it's going to clean you out in a cellular level. So it goes cellular deep. It's not necessarily just a cleanse for your colon. Okay. So I always make sure people understand that, because some people are like, oh, great, a detox. That sounds great. But if that is something that could be a blessing to you and is something that you would really like more answers from, I am more than happy to have those conversations with you. If you guys are comfortable with it, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have questions. And Mckinna, that goes for you too. If you want to share anything, by all means, girl, do that too.
Yeah, I was just saying on the chat earlier when you were talking about like being able to get down and play. I feel like normally I'm the one that's like on the couch and like telling Holden to like play with his blocks and stuff, or come give me things to help him play. But lately I've been like, as long as I'm not doing anything with Graham, I'm like getting down there and playing with him and having more energy to like go outside and chase him around. We ran around the ball fields yesterday and I was like having fun doing races with him. So I feel like
I love that.
a lot more energy and a better mood. I know it's definitely given me the boost to stay like on a more healthy track and not just focus on like trying to lose weight or anything.
Yeah.
So.
You have to tell these ladies what you told me last night when you were talking about the Oreos.
Oh yeah, how I have been like eating like 4 or 5 Oreos every night, but I don't know, the past at least like 4 days probably. They've just been sitting in there. Trevor still eats his Oreos because he likes some Oreos and milk before bed, but I eat this little like oatmeal thing that I have. So
That's
I don't
awesome.
craving really sugar
Yeah.
anymore. Like at most maybe some like yogurt before bed or something, but it makes me, if I do want sugar, then not like the processed sugar.
Isn't that funny? Like, it's really interesting because I have a similar situation where I don't really crave natural, like yucky sugar. I'll crave like fruit. Like, I
Yeah.
really love fruit. But even that, I would not take it. Like, sometimes I just don't even need it. So that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that, girl.
Yeah.
I love that.
Doing really good so far. So, and
Good deal.
surprisingly, I've been able to stay on track. Usually I'm like really bad about remembering, but I've been making sure that I remember. So,
You've been doing amazing. I've been so proud of you. I love that it's making you feel better.
yeah, it is.
Do you ladies have any questions or anything? And if you're not comfortable asking, you can always message Mckinna afterwards, because I know that medical stuff is sometimes very private. So, but you know, Mckinna and I, we talk about poop, pee, boobs, and all sorts of other things on a regular basis. So
Yep. Are you trying to figure out how to unmute, Mom?
that's okay. If you tap on the screen, it normally will bring up a thing at the bottom and you'll see a microphone.
No, I don't think I can unmute.
Let me see. I'll see if I can. Sometimes it'll let me. We'll see. It's going to ask you to unmute. See if you can push a button. Nope, not yet. That's okay. Let me try it again.
You probably have it like in your settings that you're not allowed to use the microphone.
Let me see. I guess I can't unmute it, but I can send it to where it'll ask her to unmute. You hear those little baby noises.
He's getting his gas.
If you want to, you can type it in the chat too, if that's easier. If it won't let you, I'm not sure why it won't let you.
Laptop, but she has my niece tonight, so she had to be mobile.
Oh, that's okay. And ladies, I was telling Mckinna, so next Friday, we're having at my house. I try to do this on a monthly basis, where we kind of just host a ladies' night, but it is very gut focused. So we'll have kind of like what we call like a sip and see. So basically we'll talk about gut health, answer questions. We'll have products to try, the ones that are tasteable. And then after that, we're going to have like a potluck and a game night. And you guys are more than welcome to come and join in. It's going to be a lot of fun. We typically, I mean, by no means is it like 50 people, but it's a nice little tight knit group and we always have a good time. So you guys are more than welcome to join us for that as well. And I'll give you an opportunity. Hopefully, if you guys decide that you want to go ahead and jump in with Mckinna on her challenge next week, then we'll get your products ordered. If we get them ordered by Friday, which is tomorrow, we should have them back by Monday or Tuesday. I was telling Mckinna we'll probably start her challenge on Wednesday. Just because that will give you guys a chance to get your stuff back. And Mckinna, anybody who didn't make it tonight, feel free to invite to your challenge, but also you can send this recording to them.
Okay.
So, but
Awesome.
let me see here. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording real quick.
Okay.
And then